مرحبا. اليوم راح يكون عنا our first talk for Slow Saturdays. Slow Saturdays is a new Instagram series for the month of September where we have discussions all about savoring different areas in our lives. Today we have a special guest with us, Nahla Tabaa. We will be tackling a very interesting topic, and just grab a nice cup of tea, your favorite drink, and tune in. And we will be discussing really cool topics. You really inspired me the first time we met. بتذكر كنا قاعدين عند البحيرة and I was in awe. Like my whole face was glowing. And oh my God, is she real?
كتير بيضحك إنه we probably had that long conversation وهلا we're gonna run out of like what to say because we're prompted to speak.
Exactly. Who is Nahla and what do you do?
A lot of people resist this idea of talking about what they do because they don't want to identify with what they do, but actually I really identify with what I do. I'm an artist, I'm a chef, I'm a cultural producer. I think my whole lifestyle is entangled in a way that just makes so much sense, and that's how I make it work. So whether I'm dabbling with ecology or alchemy, it feeds into my practice as someone who then creates work or then creates food or then deals with communities. So I wear many hats, but they make sense to me.
Just to reflect on the whole concept of this talk, how do you slow down as a creative who wears too many hats and بتعملي أكتر من إشي at the same time, or you're tackling different, يعني you're an artist, yet you cook, yet I know you do really cool courses abroad as well, so you travel a lot, or you do too many things. I feel like شوي إنه it can get overwhelming even though you enjoy it so much. So how do you slow down and find this, how do you savor these little things that you do basically?
Yeah, it's interesting because if you were to ask me that question a few years ago when I was so like calculated about slowing down, like I would actually allocate time in my schedule to slow down, and no, I would wake up in the morning, meditate at this time, and then exercise at this time, and then read a book at this time, and then start the day, right? Shwai, that was like slotted in a way that was quite aggressive, even though to me that was like, this is the only way I can afford to have slow time. Today, especially with my intentional move back to Jordan, slowing down, has taken on a very different role for me. I sleep a lot more than I used to. I don't feel guilty, like I'm not hard on myself when I don't wake up at a certain time. I'm not hard on myself when I'm not responding to, let's say, an email or outputting something straight away. I'm taking care of my body a lot more with a lot more intentionality, and that's not just like a snippet of nutrition here and there or like physical exercise or حتى the mental exercises, but like actually not being hard on myself when those things are out of balance, and then knowing how to like regain that sense of balance. I think slowing down in a place like Jordan has meant for me that I'm really trying to align with the seasons and the cycles. We're not just seeing them in this Gregorian calendar of like 4 seasons, but that's all we have. But actually like thinking of my body and like my menstrual cycle, how it's tying into the month, and then the lunar cycle, and then how each week, because I'm a chef and because I love ecology so much, actually looking at how these things are like inspiring me. The mild changes, like the last 2 days have been a significant drop in temperature. I already have a cold. I'm already like getting into that feeling of like something is changing.
So Nahla, أنا بعرف إنه not long time ago إجيتي على الأردن, you came from a city that is all about the hustle culture. Everyone is working from 9 to 5, or they're hustling constantly.
9 to 9.
9 to 9 or 24/7. It is quite an intense city to be in. You moved to Jordan where it is a bit of a slower paced city, and it's more relaxed, I would say. So being a creative in this relaxed environment can also slow you down in a way compared to when you were back in that city. And then it's really also interesting that people view artists and creatives as those who wake up whenever they want, chill, go out for coffee, create art when they feel like it, and they don't take it as like a serious job or a profession, or it's something you do for fun, and they envy you in a way, or they kind of even sometimes feel bad and you do art, okay, mabruk, hello, cute, and then move on.
Yeah.
So what are your thoughts on that? Like, what do you think?
Yeah, it's such an interesting one because I've had so many friends from the corporate world, exactly how you said, like almost talk down and you're so cute, you're following your passion. It's like, great, I get that there is that envy because maybe as artists we kind of broke out of the systemic way of working min zaman because it's been such an alternative force that's been carved. هلا برضو I don't think literature and these portrayals of like artists, especially the ones we grew up aspiring to be, really helps. It was romanticized in a way that could be quite damaging. And when you think of that lifespan, like that person who gives all these things to the world, but بعدين, I don't know, their heart breaks and then they die of alcoholism at an early age, بعدين خلاص, and then they're never like wealthy throughout, and then their work is discovered later. Like this needs to be dismantled because I don't think it necessarily exists today. And I also have friends who literally بيضحكوا, they're like, we don't know what you do. Like you do so many things and we can't, like we literally don't know what to tell other people about you. But you're doing all these things and you're always busy. وما حد فاهم ليش.
إيش تعملين؟
Yeah, and I actually like hired 2 interesting people to help me through this process. One, Kevin Jones, is a wonderful writer, a dear friend, a curator who actually helped me write manifestos of everything that I am, and helped me kind of like bring those things back into one place. And he helped me realize that whatever I do, intentionally in education, food or art, is literally coming from the same person. برضو حتى the choice to kind of be in the hustle culture, but as a freelancer, let's say, was really interesting because I got to also really value my time. So it's not that I wake up whenever I want, but it's more about I choose to make this time valuable by only choosing to do these things, and really having kind of that self-determination or belief in if intuitively this is not a good opportunity for me, I'd rather not take it because it will balance out with another opportunity that makes more sense. So I would say in the last couple of years, I've not regretfully done anything or taken on a job without thinking, without not fully believing or having the conviction that this makes sense to me in my practice. And I'm even talking about the catering jobs, the runs, sitting in on a film, translating an app, أشياء إنه هيك that might feel also a bit mundane, they still make sense to me.
Since you've started working with food, how has your view on life has changed? Or how has your view on food also changed?
It's been a beautiful journey because I think to begin with, struggling with like body image for such a long time, and food being that absolute enemy, whether using it as like an emotional outlet or gorging, or not necessarily understanding how to have a healthy relationship with it. A, took a very long time. B, when I moved out of my parents' home and was working in offices where we were so focused on ordering takeout, and like that was the culture, and you just pick up the phone, order something, خلاص, you're eating out constantly. I really missed and had a yearning for like nurture and care of tabikh, like anything that was cooked in a pot, I just really missed. If I can nourish myself every day, even if it's one meal, if I can make myself that one beautiful cup of tea, that's already me exercising self-love and care, that shway makes me feel like, okay, I can do this for the rest of the day. And then that expanded into my desire to like feed people. But it was also at a time where I didn't have access to my art studio. So actually for me being in the kitchen, I realized eventually that it's because I have this desire to work with my hands so much all the time, every day. And if I can't do it in my studio in ceramics or painting, then I better do it in the kitchen. I love this idea of co-creation and collaboration, which is why like I'm excited about our upcoming collaboration here, Kiss the Sun, because it's literally about what the landscape at that week and at that time is going to give me to work with. And what are the tools that are going to arrive, or how should I be working with them?
So can you tell us a little bit more about why is it important to really be present with your food, and what does it mean to savor food even?
Yeah, 100%. You know, in my last year of university, I was so deeply stressed out. It was a really, really tough time. And I had to see a counselor to speak about anxiety and my eating disorder. And it was one of the things she was advising, like, please make a ceremony out of your meal. Like, give it that love. Eat with someone around you. Don't exactly this, don't do it in front of the TV, and see how that shifts in terms of your relationship with food. So yes, I believe it's absolutely important, and you will definitely not remember the times when you like scarf down a sandwich and a coffee in the car until you're going to a meeting and you're rushed. But I want to bring another like lens into this, which is the way I've been sitting with the situation in the last year with the genocide, and then like witnessing the famine, and really how awful that was. And I made a promise to myself that it's really not just about just being present to like with the people around you, but actually really thanking God for every morsel, like every bite, every ingredient, every opportunity that we can sit together and have this. And I know this is like a darker end of the spectrum, but if we want to bring it back to a more positive place, it's really about like thinking about the entire cycle and how this thing arrived to give us this nourishment, and like acknowledge that a little bit.
What is your approach to creative work in a way where you're actually savoring the process of working and creating art, not focused on the end result? Because also as artists or creatives, we're constantly in the state of somehow criticism, and is it good enough? Are people gonna like it? Are they gonna understand the idea behind it? Or is it going to be accepted by the society or not? What is your approach on that, or your take on that?
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of artists will agree with me that the opening of your show is the worst part of the whole thing. It is that end point that you've been building up towards, and then you're suddenly in a room with people and you're like, oh my God, I can't be here, this is too much, and it's a bit overwhelming. And then you kind of like dismiss the fact that this entire process was such a beautiful experience. My work is very process based. It's very slow, it's very intentional, it's so labor intensive. And one of the biggest critiques I've received about my work is that the process is magic, and yet the outcome, even though you're telling that story through text, no one gets to witness literally just how much time you've spent on this. I think I've let go of the outcome focused part. Like, I understand it's there. I love dressing up for exhibitions. I love the attention. I love being able to put something in my portfolio as an end result. But I intentionally يعني explain to curators مثلا إنه the work is going to take this long to be produced. This is going to be the process, and you're welcome to come and see that, and we're welcome to like document it somehow or that be part of it, but you need to understand that that's where the magic is. Okay. And I think it's just a choice in the way I work.
So I remember the first conversation we had by the pond, you brought up a really interesting topic, which was balancing between the masculine and the feminine energy. Can you just tell us a bit more on that and what your thoughts are on that and how you're balancing between your masculine and feminine?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a topic that's very dear to me. And the first time I was like seeking advice and counsel in it was more for like my emotional well-being of understanding يعني, what am I sitting in more. But the more I looked into those definitions, the more I realized how much it applies to all aspects of life. وهلا not to stereotype the archetypes too much, because there are so many other subcategories that we fall into. But I do see some areas of my life as really fully being in my masculine and neglecting my feminine, and now trying to bring those back together. But the beautiful thing about that is that the masculine looks at this idea of like being the hunter-gatherer, being the one with the plan, being the one who's able to kind of execute these things, whilst the feminine energy is the one that nests and nourishes the idea, the one that like slowly considers. It's actually the one yani, with the larger vision, the one that deals with this like guttural intuition. One cannot exist without the other. So if you think about a creative practice, مثلا, you do need those moments of being really in your body and your intuition and leading with like all that love and nesting to then instruct the masculine in you to then output that. What was happening when I was in the hustle culture is that, again, because I was like so focused on like my checklist of how to do things, I did think I was in that because I'm working, I'm creative, I'm outputting. But not once was I مثلا checking in with like physically how I was feeling. Or am I really taking the time to slow down, or do I just think I am? And so today I think the way I see balance, and again, yeah, maybe being in the space helps a little bit more, is that they're so entangled in the way that they move that it does feel like a more collaborative dance.
So if you were to give an advice to those who are just starting out or shifting from the hustle culture, from consuming checklists and not tuning in with how their body is feeling, and are looking more towards shifting their lifestyle into a more slow, intuitive, more relaxed pace, I would say. لأنه I think over time the body gets tired. This is how even diseases start developing with time, misalignment and so on. What would your advice be?
I think one will resist it very much if you impose it in these solid ways. Like it took me a very long time to wean off of that and still hold on to aspects of that. So I would say it's like a matter of like really tiny baby steps. I had a friend, and she used to tell me how she would take her time responding to emails. Like she was like, I'm gonna take 3 days to respond to this. I'm like, how? I refresh my email every minute. And I was proud of the fact that my response rate was 5 minutes, like, حتى Dana, I sent her an essay on WhatsApp immediately, like that's my, but why?
Yeah.
So it sounds like such an insignificant thing, but no, like, Adi, take your time. Or like, I had friends, and actually on social media, there's this entitlement to access information from me. Bless them, it's also kind of my fault. So, like someone will say to me, hey Nahla, can you recommend these restaurants in this neighborhood? Not only will I have given them a list, I will have given them links on where to find them, what my favorite dish is there, and I'm giving them this full, over-generous thing. Why? They can look it up and they can figure it out themselves. So it's also, yani, I think, as you're about to overextend your generosity, because we still do and we know what's in us, just check in with yourself first. Like, do you really need to? Again, with like nutrition or yani, having a spiritual practice, مثلا, or حتى a drawing practice, I do try to do like one little thing a day that will give me that like sense of slowness. مثلا in the studio, when I was procrastinating, like settling into my new studio, I had this scroll of IKEA paper. It's that long one. I love it. It's great. It's in the children's section. Each day I would just draw a little bit. So even if it's a minute of filling up that page, بعدين بغطيه واليوم الثاني إنه I continue with that drawing. And now I have like 30 meters of this like beautiful work that's very expressive, that's very automatic, and I was doing it without thinking. But it's literally a few minutes out of my day, but I make it a point to sit down and do that.
Okay. If people were to just take one thing out of this talk, like one thing you truly want them to walk away with, what would it be?
I think just trying to accept that this thing of breaking out of the hustle or having a creative career is not linear in any way. There are going to be disruptions and challenges and circling back to certain things, and that's okay.
Thank you so much for
You're very welcome.
this beautiful discussion.